Hi, it's Betsy Marshall. Do you have a picky eater at your house? Someone who really just eats a handful of foods, the same ones over and over again? If you do, I'm very sorry. I know how that is, and I know how difficult that is. So today we're going to talk about picky eaters. We're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, and we're going to give you some help with this. So picky eaters. Think about your guy or girl when they were little, and they were in the high chair and you were introducing food. For the most part, they ate so many different things, right? You would spoon feed them something, and maybe initially they didn't like it, they made a face, but then they would eat it. And then at what age did you notice they really started to get picky? 2? About the age of 2? Usually that's when we see the picky eaters starting to emerge. And coming with the age of 2 comes a favorite word of theirs. No. They love to say no. They're very good at no. And they become very independent. So when we put food on their plate or we introduce a food, the first thing they do is say no. They don't want it. So you've got a combination of things going on there. Children who are starting to be very independent, and then decide that behaviorally they don't want to necessarily have a food and maybe holding out for something different. And then you have children who absolutely have tastes and different feelings about food. So think of yourself. I know me, I don't like particular foods. I don't like baked beans. I don't like peas. There's things I just don't care for. I just don't care for them. Maybe someday, but probably not. So what I want to do is help you to raise children who are less picky, to help you have meal times that are enjoyable and not tearful. So let's talk about your children and their eating habits. If you have a guy or a girl that only likes a handful of food, that really is a picky eater. And what are you doing about that? How are you addressing that? Are you providing something different? You make a meal for yourself, your husband, maybe another child or two. It has meat, maybe a chicken. You have a carb, maybe some potatoes and a vegetable, and you make this meal of 3 different things. And then you have your 4-year-old who you're making macaroni and cheese for, or scrambled eggs for. An entirely different meal. And I understand that, I get that. We call that a short order cook. Because you just want them to eat and you don't want the drama that's involved in that. And I'm not going to tell you not to do that. If that's what works at your house and you want to do that, have at it. But if you want your child to enjoy food, experience food, be more open to food, we need to talk about meal time. So we're going to separate picky eaters and nutrition and talk about what's happening at meal time. Now things have changed very recently with the pandemic, and maybe we have more opportunity to sit together as a family, unlike, say, last year at this time where we were so busy. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is start with sitting together for mealtime, if you're not already doing that. That is so important. A little background. My mother grew up in the Great Depression, so there was limited food available, and I was raised in a household of many children. I'm the youngest of 9, and we had what we had for dinner, and there wasn't anything more. And whatever you put on your plate, you were expected to eat all of. And there was no way around that. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to do that as a mommy when I have kids. I'm never going to make them eat everything on their plate, because I know how that felt as a child. So I want you to think about what's happening at your house. Where are you coming from? How were you raised? And what is your philosophy in raising your children? And I want you to make mealtime enjoyable. It wasn't always enjoyable at my own house because my husband and I come to the table with different attitudes as well. So he would sit down at the table with this whole meal in front of us and really push our daughter to eat. Try this, eat this, eat this. I don't want it, Mommy. It's a lot of tears and drama, which I didn't enjoy. I wanted mealtime to be an enjoyable time. One thing I know as a mom and as a parent educator is there's a few things you can't make your children do. Eat, sleep, and pee or poop. Can't make them. You can insist they try. You can say it's time to go to bed. You can say it's time to sit at the table. It's time to use the potty. But as far as making them eat, force feeding them, we're not going to do that. But insisting they come and sit at the table, this is key. And I see it in a lot of families. We're not even having them come to the table. So I want you to have a meal time. Dinner's at 5, and we're all sitting at the table. Sit right up here. You're not perched. We're not standing. We're not leaving. We're not grazing. So sometimes we have picky eaters because our children are grazing throughout the day. They're having little snacks here and there. Then when we say, come and eat, they're not even hungry. So have them come to the table a little bit hungry. My kitchen was closed at 3 o'clock for kids. We're not snacking all afternoon long because we eat at 5, and I would like a little time between the time you have had lunch or an afternoon snack until mealtime. So pay attention to that. Then it's come to the table. Everybody come and sit. Now for my picky eater Jack, we had to just get something on his plate. There were times where he didn't want even the green beans touching his plate. And that was a big step. We're just going to put a couple on your plate, Jack. It's okay. They're going to sit on your plate here next to your chicken and your roll. Now again, maybe you'll try it today. Maybe you won't, but it's going to sit on your plate. So baby steps for your kids who are so uncomfortable with particular foods, for it to just sit on your plate or sit next to your plate. Okay? What we want to teach our children is, how do you behave at mealtime? Everything is about a behavior. We're not going to say, ew, it's yucky, it's gross, I hate it. We can say, no thank you. No thank you, Mommy, I don't care for it, right? So we're going to teach those behaviors at the table too. We take a little, we ask for food to be passed, napkin in our lap, the whole kinds of things. And it's all part of the meal experience. We're going to talk about food. Oh, today we have choice baked potatoes, and Molly made a fruit salad, and we're going to have some of this, and we're going to have some of that. What do you think about that? I'm going to try it and taste it. So we're going to talk about foods, and we're going to make it a positive experience. So you're going to have your kids come to the table and sit. It's a big one, at least for a few minutes. Now, when they want to get up and leave, because they don't want to come to the table and sit, they want to go back to playing or go to their tablet or just run around, well, come and visit with us. It's not time to leave yet. Again, you can't make them eat, but you can insist they stay a while. So I always have my kids ask to be excused. Before you get down and leave, you're not just walking away. May I please be excused is important. And sometimes I say, no, stay and visit. Well, I'm done eating. That's fine. Stay and visit. If there's nothing else to do, then you're not allowing them to go and play. You're certainly not allowing any screens at the table. The TV's not on in the background. These are big, important things. We're just sitting there, and there's food in front of them. What do you think your child's going to do? There's nothing else to do. Just sitting there, plate of food. They're going to eat a little more because you're not allowing other things to happen. Now, Jack would get down and say, he's done, he's finished, please be excused. He ate 2 bites at best, and he would leave. Moments later, he would come into the kitchen. I'm hungry. Can I have a cookie? Well, he's waiting for that other thing that's better for him, tastes better to him, the cookie, the cracker, the candy. So the answer is going to be no. Sorry, no. It's not time for a snack. And if you're still hungry, there's some dinner options still available. Okay? So try and figure out, is your child trying to get something different than what you have set the table for? And push back a little bit. Okay? Again, we don't need tears and drama, but a simple no. If you're still hungry, there's still rolls from dinner or applesauce or chicken or whatever, but the cookies are not an option right now. Okay? So try and figure that out. I mentioned not having your children graze or snack before they come to the table. The other thing is not allowing them to drink and drink and drink and drink and drink all day long, because that fills their little bellies. Their little bellies are tiny little things, and if they've been drinking and then it's time to eat, they're not going to be hungry. Especially things like juice. And here's a juice. I want you to be a little bit of a label reader. I mentioned a little bit about nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist, but there are drinks out there that are just full of sugar. This drink here has this much sugar in it. That's crazy. So limit the drinks. Limit for sure the sugary drinks, juices, sodas. Water's great. Low fat, fat-free milk is fine, but not right before you're expecting them to sit down and eat at the table. And then I want to talk a little bit about portions. Sometimes we put something in front of a child, a meal, and it's too big. It's an adult-size meal. So children have very small portions. It's a half a cup of cereal or a quarter of a cup of vegetables, a half a slice of bread, depending on how old your child is. So when we set the table, we're going to have different amounts. So I'll give my little show and tell. This might be the amount of green beans for an adult compared to the amount for a child. There's my pasta. Can you see that? And then a small amount for a child. So we're really just putting little small amounts on the plate for them to try. Another really good way to encourage your children to try different foods is for them to be involved in the planning, shopping, and prep. What would you like for dinner this week? Let's set a plan. What's going to be good? What would you like to plan for dinner Tuesday night? And then let's go shopping. And I know it's hard. It's a lot harder to take your kids shopping than it is to just shop by yourself. But if you take your guy or girl into the shopping store and you say, you pick the vegetable tonight. Here are your choices. Pick one. And then you come home and you say, come on, help mommy get these ready. And then at the dinner table you say, Tim picked the vegetable tonight. Thanks, Tim. This looks great. Can't wait to try it. Tim might not try it. Okay, let's put a little on your plate. Maybe you'll smell it tonight. I've had parents say we do a no thank you bite, a little taste and then say no thank you. And that's a great idea. What we want to teach our children is if you try it and you don't like it, good for you for trying it. Try it. If you don't like it, we're not going to go and spit it out. Maybe put it in a napkin and say, no thank you, I don't care for that. The idea, again, is to raise children who you're going to send out into the world and go to someone's house and have a meal and not embarrass you, who are you going to send to a restaurant or a business meeting and they're going to be able to order from the menu and eat different components and know good manners and try different foods. Research will tell you that children need to be offered an item, a food item, multiple times before they're even going to try it, our picky kids. So keep trying. Research will tell you that tastes change. So while I might not have liked seafood as a young person, at my age, I love seafood. So our taste buds are changing, your children's tastes are changing. Keep encouraging them to try something. I'm going to stop.